A huge part of the U.S. response to Ukraine has focused on sanctions. You wrote, I believe, your second ever foreign affairs piece in 1997 called Sanctioning Madness, which is about the overuse of sanctions. You wrote back then, the growing use of economic sanctions to promote foreign policy objectives is deplorable. Since then, Foreign Affairs has run probably dozens of pieces that have also highlighted the limits of sanctions and the potential blowback of sanctions, including from people like Jack Lew, the former Treasury Secretary. Why does this continue to be such a preferred tool of American foreign policy, despite what seems to be a consensus in this analysis that they don't really work? And has anything about the sanctions announced in response to first the Russian troop buildup around Ukraine and then the Russian invasion surprised you? Do you see any promise of success here that we've missed in the past?
I can't tell you how many meetings I've been in where option one was essentially diplomacy or do very little. Option three was go to war. Option two was the reasonable middle course of economic sanctions. It is the don't just stand there, do something preferred option of foreign policy bureaucracies. And we have employed it with abandon. And when administrations feel compelled to do something, but they don't want to use military force, my hunch is we've overused it tactically in way too many situations. We've also overused it, strategically, I think, in terms of certain ambitious aims. My own take on sanctions is they can do some limited good. They do not tend to succeed if your goals are ambitious or short term. They almost never succeed. They have all sorts of effects that may be unintended. Now, sanctions have gotten a bit smarter over the years, more tailored, more narrow, and we've been better able to marshal what you might call fairly significant financial sanctions. So I think the instruments evolved to some extent. But again, look at the Russia case. Unprecedented sanctions, yet Russia's selling tons of energy. It's found all sorts of markets. And sanctions have had the bizarre effect at times where it's become more difficult for Russia to sell things. It's forced the price up. It's almost Newtonian. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. But the idea that sanctions are going to deliver Russia or deliver Iran on the nuclear thing, no, they don't do that. And the only reason they work, the most successful case in the history of sanctions is South Africa. But there you had a society where an important element of the society wanted sanctions to succeed because they wanted South Africa, one, to get out from under apartheid, and two, to be integrated in the world. Well, you don't have that in a place like Russia. You don't have that in repressive societies like Iran. Or if you do have it in terms of the middle class, at the moment in Iran, they're not yet able to call the shots. Maybe one day they hopefully will. So I think sanctions can be a piece of the strategy, but no more.